Okay, solving quadratics with a leading coefficient of 1. In the quadratic equation x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0, the leading coefficient, or the coefficient of x squared, is 1. We have one method of factoring quadratic equations in this form. So given a quadratic equation with the leading coefficient of 1, we're going to factor it. Find two numbers whose product equals c and whose sum equals b. 2. Use those numbers to write two factors of the form x plus k or x minus k, where k is one of the numbers found in step 1. Use the numbers exactly as they are. In other words, if the two numbers are 1 and negative 2, then the factors are going to be x plus 1 and x minus 2. And number 3, we're going to solve using the zero product property by setting each factor equal to 0 and solving for the variable. So for example number 1, we're factoring and solving a quadratic with a leading coefficient of 1. So we're going to factor and solve the equation x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. So we factored this already when we talked about factoring, only now we add an equals 0, so it turns into an equation. So we're going to follow the same steps as what we've done with factoring. So the leading coefficient is a 1, so we're going to create an x. We're going to write down the number negative 6 here, and the numbers in the middle number is 1. So remember that when we've done this in the past, we write down the number for c, which is minus 6, and then the value of b is positive 1. So then we got to figure out what two numbers can I multiply to get negative 6, then when I add I get a positive 1. So we got to be careful of our signs here. Well, negative 2 times 3 gives you negative 6, and negative 2 plus 3 gives you positive 1. Now to solve this equation, we use the zero product property to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Well, since negative 2 and 3 are factors, we're going to get x minus 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 0. So the first factor is x minus 2, we set that equal to 0. Or the second factor is x plus 3, and we set that equal to 0, and then solve both of those for x. So we add 2 to both sides, and therefore x is equal to 2. And then over here we subtract 3 to both sides, and x is equal to negative 3. So our solutions are negative 3 and 2. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do this, but when you think of the number line, okay, the smaller number is always written first when you write your solution set in braces. So that's why negative 3 is written first, and then positive 2. So the two solutions are 2 and negative 3. And we can see how the solutions relate to the graph in figure 2. The solutions are the x-intercepts. So what happens here is when I graph this equation, okay, where it crosses the x-axis are at those two numbers, negative 3 and 2. And if we write them as ordered pairs, they are solutions for the x coordinates. And 0 is going to represent the number for the y coordinate. So we have negative 3, 0 here, and 2, 0, and that's where it crosses the x-axis.